Welcome to the Post Sports Extra. I'm Drew Rubenstein here with Kellis Robinett, who covers Kansas State football for the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. And Kellis, Bill Snyder's been doing his thing at Kansas State and interested in just how he keeps this thing rolling. He keeps getting asked about his age, but every single year the Wildcats are who they are. How does he keep this thing rolling?
Well, he knows the system by now. That's pretty clear. He kind of goes about it a little different way. He recruits players who aren't as highly ranked, brings in a lot of walk-ons. 3 of the 5 guys who he brought here today were actually former walk-ons. That's definitely not the norm of everybody else, but he's big on improving every day. You heard him today say the phrase, "don't take things for granted," about 600 times, and that's really not that high for him. So he believes in that. He wants his players to give max effort at all times, and I guess he's the type of guy who figures if you work a certain way and do it every single day, you're going to have results, and that's why they've had a few winning seasons in a row now.
Wildcats, what was the biggest loss coming off of last season? What's the biggest question mark going into this year?
You know, it's probably got to be Ty Zimmerman on the back end at safety. I mean, this was a guy who started as a freshman, was the leader of that defense for many, many years, made a lot of tackles, never did anything wrong, was always in the right position. He just seemed to do everything right for so long for him, and now they got to figure out a way to replace him. That's not going to be easy to do. A lot of their other positions, I feel like they've just got a revolving door. It doesn't matter who's in a running back or on the D line. At least whoever is in there is going to do a competent job. But he's going to be tough to replace, and I'm not really even sure who they're going to fill him in with at this point at that starting spot. So that's probably the biggest question mark.
One guy West Virginia fans are certainly familiar with is Tyler Lockett. He had quite a game a couple years ago in Morgantown. Putting his career in perspective of what he's done at Kansas State, what has he meant to this Wildcats program, and where is he going to be remembered after this year?
Well, if he can stay healthy and he can duplicate the numbers he put up last year over a full season, which is something he's really never been able to do, he could leave as the best receiver they've had. Under Bill Snyder, passing just isn't a thing that you can really, for a receiver anyway, it's very hard to rack up huge stats. Tyler Lockett is one of, if you want to count the number of 1,000-yard receivers under Bill Snyder, you can do it with one hand and just 1 or 2 more fingers. There are very few of them. Tyler Lockett is one, and to put it last season in perspective, he broke the 1,000-yard barrier while he was hurt for a few games. So if he comes back and has the type of season he's capable of, he could become a very high draft pick next year.
Last one, kind of looking at the Big 12 preseason media poll. For what it's worth, Kansas State's there at number 3, just below Oklahoma and Baylor. Is that kind of where you expected Kansas State, and what are realistic expectations for the season?
Well, that's where I voted him, 3rd, so that's the first time that's happened where I voted them. They showed up, so I was happy to see it. I think that's a fair representation. They could contend for title. They've got the pieces, but when you look at what Oklahoma has coming back, especially, teams that you saw it with Texas A&M, teams that beat Alabama come back the next year and they have good years. And with the situation they've got at quarterback and everything, you got to figure they're the favorites. Baylor has the offense. K-State is kind of that team that has both pieces. So if things break their way, it could be good. Their problem is they have to go to Oklahoma, to Baylor. That's asking a lot for a team to go on the road and win those 2 games. And those are the 2 teams that went into Manhattan last year and beat Kansas State. So can they do it? Sure, but I think 3rd is probably the spot where they should be picked.
Interesting stuff. Really appreciate your time, Kellis, and we'll be in touch as the season progresses. And please continue to check thedpost.com for the latest on the Mountaineers. Thanks for watching today.